This is something that I wish I could say to certain people, but as of right now, at the time of me recording this, I can't. So I thought I might as well just let it all out as if I were speaking directly to the people that I wish could receive this. Something I received myself. So I'm just gonna let this out, and if it happens to help somebody, I'd be really happy about that. But I'll just let this out. Things are changing. This world is... it's not what it seems. And the truth is, we've all been lied to, we've all been led astray, we've all been absorbed into something that isn't us, that doesn't truly align with us, that doesn't actually reflect who we are, ultimately at least. You have to separate yourself from everybody right now, because there's a lot of information, there's a lot of clarity, there's a lot of healing that can be done in order to aid this healing, to aid yourself, to aid this inner alignment. You got to separate yourself from people. You got to untangle yourself from situations, social situations, interactions. You have to clear your environment. You have to basically isolate yourself for a good amount of time. And while doing that, you still need to take care of yourself and nurture yourself, the true you, not your ego. Through this process, you probably will, if you haven't already, but you'll experience an ego death. Because one of the biggest lies that so much of humanity carries is that of shame. And shame is used by the ego to keep you stuck in a certain realm of reality or perception of how you see yourself and how you see others and how you connect to the world. And it really dictates most, if not all, of your behavior, actually. You got to untangle from all these lies that shame tells you that you're condemned, that you're a bad person, and that because of whatever reason, whatever you did in the past, or whatever happened to you, whatever choices you made, that you're stuck, and that's who you are. But that's a lie. It's a lie. It only can be true if you continue to make those same choices, to exhibit that same behavior continuously through your choice, and you choose to agree with whatever identity that shame is whispering in your ear that tells you that you are really this. Because a lot of people who, you know, are labeled or exhibit the behavior of, you know, a narcissist or narcissistic behavior, you know, sociopathic behavior, they believe that they're bad. A lot of them do, at least especially the narcissist. The narcissist. I'm not gonna label any more people. I did in the past, but I don't do that anymore. The ones that really exhibit the narcissistic behavior They believe they're a bad person. See, this whole thing is on a spectrum, because if you lived in as a part of humanity within societies, whatever, we've all been infected by it. Basically, it's like almost like a psychological infection of our perception of reality, of our relationship with ourselves. It all goes back to your identity, what you actually believe about yourself. Not like, oh, I'm this. I'm a business owner. I'm a husband. I'm a wife. I'm a team player. I do this. I've done this. These are my accomplishments. This is who I am. Like, or this is the group I'm a part of. This is the lineage I come from, or whatever. No, I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about the root. Like, what do you actually believe about yourself? What do you actually believe yourself to be? Who is that? Like, honestly, confront that honestly. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pleasant. I could tell you that. But it's necessary to confront that and to actually illuminate what that shit is that you are saying to yourself in the back of your mind, or what these lies are saying about you. Okay? Because it's lies. So we've all had this ego implanted within us, right? We've had it encouraged to support that, to listen to that, and to use that as our guide, because throughout most of society, that's what gets you ahead. That's what gets rewarded. It's encouraged. It's incentivized. That's why people with a lot of money who are very successful, they tend to have really big egos. They tend to exhibit that very narcissistic behavior. And those that are less narcissistic, those that are more giving and more empathetic, things like that, they tend to not be as successful necessarily. Of course, there's some exceptions, but majority of the time, this world favors selfish, narcissistic behavior, one in which you manipulate, take advantage, and use other people to your advantage. That's what the world is built on. I mean, just look at whatever people you say are like on top of the social ladder of the hierarchy. Look at their behavior, look at what they've done and what they continue to do, the lack of accountability, the deception. If that's at the top and we're a part, think of it like this. If that's at the top and we're a part of that, right? We're a part of this system, even if we're like way at the bottom, wherever you are in the hierarchy, tier list, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you're a part of it and that's at the top, that's dictating, and it's really influencing your daily life, your experience, what you have to do, the culture, what people believe in, things like that, even like subliminally, that has an effect on everybody. And just think of like a micro like ecosystem, like the workplace, or like a family system, a household, whatever. Each of that unit is connected to that, and it has its own like little subculture, emphasis on the cult and culture. I mean, everything's basically a cult. This is how this world has been running, and it's led people to prioritize things that are actually against themselves, their own best interests. Because the truth is, there's not a big difference between somebody living in a mansion who has millions or billions of dollars and then like has a bunch of people in their life that work for them, they interact with people, they own businesses, all of that sort of thing. They could be a celebrity even, and there's not that much difference between that and a community that lives like in nature. That sounds extreme, I know, and I know you're probably like, no, that's very different, but I'm going to tell you what the difference is. What the similarities are. What makes them similar is that there is a culture. There's a culture there. It could be vastly different, but there is one that exists. When you entwine yourself with a culture, with your surroundings, with the environment, with the rules, expectations, the things that get you by or that, you interact with or you communicate with, it has an effect. You get absorbed into it, you get influenced by it. Whether it's good or bad, there's influence there. It's just existing. What I'm trying to say is you can identify with whatever culture, group, whatever you want, but at the end of the day, you're separate from it all. You're a part of it, but you're also separate at the same time. Other people can perceive very closely to what you're experiencing or perceiving or what you believe in. But ultimately, you are independent. You are separate. Your perception, your thoughts, your ideas, your connection to everything is unique, is different. Because we're all sovereign. We're all connected, we're all the same, we're all one, but we're all not one at the same time. We're all different, we're all distinct, we're all unique. Both are true. It's a bit paradoxical. But looking at this world that we've lived in, it's been very harmful, I would say, to the root of who we are, which is who we actually are, and it's not the ego. It's something beyond that. It's infinite. It's truth. It's love. This world has been limiting, and I think a lot of people believe that there's limitations, and there doesn't have to be limitations of any kind whatsoever. There doesn't have to be any kind of hierarchy, dependency, or scarcity. When you get absorbed into that culture, into these beliefs and perceptions, and you're surrounded by people that are agreeing to these rules, you start to adjust to it. You become a part of that machine almost. And we start to stray away from who we really are before all of that. Because when you get integrated into something like that, it's very possible that you can lose track of who you are, or what you actually believe in, and what you're actually doing, and the consequences of it, and how it's affecting other people, how it's affecting yourself, actually. If I were to look at humanity as a whole on this planet, I would say this, like, we could be doing so much better. And I don't care what anyone says about, oh, that's delusional. No, it's the truth. Any kind of suffering, scarcity, dependency, or hierarchy, it's bullshit. It's completely unnecessary. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. It does not have to be this way at all. I think there's like almost like an automatic like belief, like, oh, that's just the way it is because of this and this and this, and or we're humans, we're like on this planet, so there's only so many things we could do. Like, no, that's bullshit. There are no limits. It's not real. And I'm uncovering this more and more. See, we're capable of way more than anyone else might think of you or what you probably think of yourself in this moment. I think a lot of people, like, they put people who are like regarded as like geniuses on like a pedestal because that's like something that's like very rare, or like only so many people could be like that, but that's not true. If this world oh my gosh, if this world was one more rooted in kindness and love and acceptance and truth and freedom, everybody would be a genius, basically. Because the way the system functions, the whole survival thing, and the trauma and the cycles of abuse and neglect and mistreatment and violations and all that, that gets in the way of existing, like fully existing, instead of being made to be like another like piece of this like machine, to being assigned a role that isn't you, that isn't accurate to you. It's crazy. Some people are able to like avoid this to some extent, but there's so much interference, and that gets in the way so much, and it makes people believe that they're like mediocre, or they're less capable, and that's not the truth. That's not the truth. There's just so many lies. There's so many lies. And when you separate, this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, when you separate yourself and you isolate yourself, information just comes to you. You just know things. Because this world, this society, wants you to know and think about very specific things, but not other things. If you veer outside what's expected or what's called normal, then you're weird, you're wrong, you're invalid, that doesn't exist, that's not true, you're crazy, or that's useless information, regardless. And that's just not true. It's not true. To speak on the cycle of abuse and people like myself choosing to estrange from the people that harmed them, I would say this to these people that I can't say this to right now because there's no conversation to be had at this point. But what you did to me was done to you, basically. This game of trying to suppress me, to confuse me, to interfere with my ability to literally just exist and perceive reality. That was done to you. And this goes way back. And this is why we have so many issues, is because so many people throughout generations have been suppressed, lied to, manipulated, and like basically programmed, because trauma is programming, to continue that cycle, to continue that. And now it's to a point where I can't even speak to certain people, because every moment I speak to them, they're trying to confuse me. They're trying to get me to lower my guard, to allow them to have control over me, over my existence. to ignore me, to act as if I don't exist, and for me to agree to that. They want me to agree to lies. They want me to believe that I don't matter and that I don't exist. That I don't exist when I speak. That never happened. I never spoke. It's almost as if I'm treated as like a semi like transparent, like not really existing kind of like apparition. That's how I've been treated in my life. And then when I am given like this, attention, I'm just speaking, maybe this will help somebody, including me. When I am giving that attention, it's like I'm being called upon or summoned for a specific thing that is like perverse or wrong or does not align with me at all. And that is just overall, like, I don't agree with being something that feels good or genuine. And that is just like a wild thing. That's a whole other thing. But I think this has been going on for a very, very long time. And now I'm at the point where I just have fatigue of this whole human experience. And I don't even identify as being a human being. I identify as a sovereign being because identity is such a huge thing. So many people want you to fit very easily identifiable like terms, categories, and groups to organize and to make sense of the world. I understand that, but it's also harmful. I don't agree with projections that people tell me about like myself, my identity, like who I am, the groups I come from and what that means for me and what that like. Because to me, those kinds of identities, it kind of like keeps me stuck. It keeps me trapped. It limits me. It puts me in a box, literally. It's almost like a jail cell. And it's like, okay, that's your structure that you live in. That's the confines of who you are. You've been labeled. You have essentially been judged and condemned. But the truth is, and this is to the person that I was thinking of giving this message to, you might think, this might be controversial, but you might think that when you die, you're going to be judged by some god or some entity that's going to decide like whether you go to like heaven or hell, for instance. No, that's you that's going to judge. That's going to be the final judge. Whether you end up in heaven or hell or wherever, that's your choice. That's your judgment. And a lot of these people out here who, again, like going back to the whole like narcissistic thing, that are like seen as very narcissistic, they are actually judging themselves deep, deep, deep inside. They are judging themselves because they hold on to this shame instead of processing and actually looking at the information and being like, actually, I don't have to be that person. I don't have to be stuck in that. And I don't have to use this to survive. I don't have to use, power dynamics and manipulation and control to survive. I don't need excessive, like superficial validation in order to survive or to exist, because those are more lies. They judge themselves deep down. They think they're a bad person. They've condemned themselves. And they believe that there's no way out of it, but that's not true. That's not true. It's a lie. Shame is a lie. It's wrong. It doesn't belong with anyone because it's condemnation. Instead of looking at actually, like, if you did something wrong, you look at it and be like, okay, I did something wrong. That doesn't align with me. I make a different choice. I don't do that again. And right there, you're free. See? You're not that person anymore. And you don't have to revert back to it, because that's a lie too. Like, oh, you gotta revert back to it, or it's a familiar. Your nervous system, your mind might be used to certain patterns. You can break those patterns. There's not a rule saying, oh, you're gonna You're stuck in this cycle, you're stuck in these patterns, like, screw that. You could stop that instantly, and then change everything. Change who you are completely. That's freedom, that's liberation, that's sovereignty. The only one that can condemn you is yourself. The only one that can save you is yourself. There is no savior. Because any savior that comes is just trying to do what was done to you and that you have been doing to other people if you were, acting in that way of trying to control, manipulate other people and have this hierarchical situation going on, which is something that the society has trained us to do in order to basically survive and make money and progress in society, and it's all backwards. If we all existed from who we really are instead of feeling like we need to suppress ourselves or conform or act a certain way, we would be living in paradise. You could also just go wherever you want, whenever you want. There'd be no problems, no threats, no danger, nothing. There's no hierarchy, no scarcity, and no dependency. You don't have to depend on anyone for shit. There's no scarcity, there's no problems. People wouldn't be manipulated because they're listening to themselves, right? They're not listening to the shit that came before them when it was decided to do these really perverse and horrific things to attack the psyche, the human experience, and really alter the perception of everybody and their existence. This is very personal, but this is widespread at the same time. It affects everybody. I know it's said that, humans are social beings, that they naturally kind of almost conform to a group and things like that. And it's it doesn't have to be that way, because that has partly been the problem of why we've gotten to this point where so many people are disconnected. But not only that, but just historically, just all the harm and violence and crimes against humanity and just the programming and everything. It's it's so wrong and it's so unnecessary. That's the thing. This is unnecessary. This isn't, humans, no, we don't have to do this. This never had to be a thing. But instead of just focusing on all of that bad shit, we can change it instantly and heal completely. That's the biggest thing, healing. It's not some magical, mystical thing or impossible thing, or no. It's attainable, it's achievable instantly. Always. Because if healing was also difficult to achieve or dependent on all these other factors, or you needed someone else to come in, or it was very scarce or very situational or complex, that's already a lie. Because those are the lies that we believed in to keep us stuck and limited in certain ways. I know I'm going all over the place with this. So I'll go back to what I said in the beginning. When you isolate yourself, you untangle yourself from all the bullshit, all the noise, everything that is confusing you, everything that's suppressing you, basically. Your ability to actually see, experience, and exist, and actually really think for yourself. Because a lot of the shit that you're thinking, it's implanted because of the culture, the society, the people around you, the environment, all the pressure and the programming and all the history and generational shit. It's a lot. people are a lot more sensitive and in tune than I think they're given credit for, okay? I said this before, basically everyone's a genius, actually. That's the truth. And everyone's essentially psychic, to say the least. It's way beyond this physical shit. So when you untangle, you start to have a more clearer vision. You get a better sense of who you are, separate from all the other identities that were built up or reinforced within the confines and expectations and possibilities, perceived possibilities within that social system or culture or group or whatever. You start to deviate, then you start to really kind of grow and enhance your ability to see shit. You see patterns, you see all the patterns, okay? You look at somebody, you clock shit instantly. You already know. You could tell what's true, what's not. You could tell who's lying and who's not instantly. It becomes like ridiculous. It becomes kind of boring. You become so good at it that it's like, I gotta be wrong about something. Like I gotta be like, no, your discernment goes like through the roof, okay? Because that's the natural baseline is incredible discernment. We all have like impeccable discernment. It just gets watered down, suppressed, and like used against us. We're made to believe like, to trust things outside of ourselves or not to trust ourselves fully or to have like an abnormally and unhealthy level of like excessive doubt that only serves to like sabotage ourselves, which we don't need that anymore, okay? You don't need that. So you separate yourself, you untangle from this, you become more closer to yourself. You're probably going to, at one point or another, you're going to start to feel things that are going to be very unpleasant, okay? This isn't going to be like everything's really pretty, because you're going to become aware. You're going to become more aware and sensitive. There's going to be things that you're going to become aware of before you're like cognitively actually like, or consciously actually like thinking about it and understanding it at first. So it could be very overwhelming. Again, like this could be the beginning of the ego death if you haven't already had one already. And then when that happens, you're going to basically think that everything is bad and everyone's bad and everything is bad. And that's, kind of, yeah, pretty much. And it's going to be really scary. It's going to be very horrifying, like horrifying. Okay. You're not going to be able to trust anybody. But you're building your trust in yourself, not your ego. That's not you. You're going to separate that. That's the key. You're separating yourself from your ego. That's the biggest thing. So when that happens, you experience the ego death, and then you're going to have rapid memory recall. Like your memory is going to like come back to you like really, really clear. That could be overwhelming too. And it might come in waves too. Basically, you're going to remember, this goes in with the ego death, not only like the things that happened to you, which might come after, it depends. Everyone might be different, but you're going to remember everything you did to other people, how your actions affected other people, things like that. And that's when you're going to really feel and notice the shame. Okay. This is the key part of the ego death. When you experience the shame, it's going to be very overwhelming. You're going to want to immediately condemn yourself, right? Because you're going to look at every little thing that you did wrong, or every little thing that you may or may not have like hurt somebody intentionally, if you got into a conflict or you did something wrong, whatever. That's going to be evidence that you're going to basically use against yourself to be like, see, I am a bad person. See, I don't deserve happiness. Or see, like, I am in trouble because look at all these things I did. I have bad karma. Oh my gosh. Like, see, you're going to use all these things to basically prove that you're a bad person, except it's not actually you. It's the shame being used by the ego that's presenting this information to you. And it's really trying to reestablish control, because what's happening is your ego realizes that, oh no, you're gaining awareness, and then you're starting to see things. You're starting to peek behind the curtain and really see that, oh shit, they see me. This is the ego speaking. They see me. Quick, see, your memories are coming back. See, look at what you did. Look at how you affected this person. Look at what you did, your actions. Look at how terrible you are. Look at how incapable you are. It's going to hurt. it's going to hurt, and you're probably going to want to like believe it almost automatically, because that's what's been playing in the deep background your whole life, or most of your life, I should say. So this ego is going to really come in there and try to make you feel like shit about yourself, like you're a horrible person, you don't deserve love. Like, it's going to come in there. And that's the shame, because it uses that shame of like all this information that happened, like all these memories, these painful memories. It tries to use it against you to make you submit to it, and to be like, okay, you're right, I am a bad person. And I'll be like, see, I told you, now listen to me. It's literally like an abusive like partner, like an abusive relationship. That's exactly what it is, okay? That's what the ego is, and that's what it's doing in this situation. It's trying to reestablish control in this moment. But if you get through that and you process it, and then you realize, wait a minute, no, this is wrong, and you stand up to it, and, you know, like I said before, all this stuff is information, but it is not condemnation. It does not mean, even if you did something bad or you hurt somebody, it doesn't matter what it is. If you can forgive yourself and you realize what you did was wrong, and that you're not going to do that again, because you're not that person. You're not stuck in that role because you did one thing. You're not stuck. That's a lie. It doesn't matter what it is, big or small. It doesn't matter. Because like I said, remember, the only one who has the power to judge you and to condemn you or save you is yourself. So if that's the truth, you need to process this, basically alchemize this like an alchemist, really. And this is the magical part. This is the part that's like, it's incredible. This is healing. This is healing, okay? When you heal, it's amazing. So when you alchemize this and you're like, no, that's information. I've learned from it. I understand. And I'm not that person. I'm not condemned. I'm not stuck into that role or that identity. That's not who I am, because I don't do things like that anymore. I know it's wrong, and that's not a part of me. And I'm freeing myself from this. I forgive myself. I don't hurt anyone like this anymore. I don't do the same thing anymore. I've learned and I've grown, legitimately. And that might take some time. You can do it. You can do it. And you can do it as quickly as instantly. It doesn't have to take a long time. It can be instant. It never has to take like, oh, it's going to take years for me to grow and to change. No, that's not true either. That's another lie that the ego tries to use against you. Like, oh, but if you try to do that, it's going to take a long time. So it's going to try to make you feel like, oh, but it's like this huge task. It's going to take a long time. So it'll be like waiting there. It's like that toxic partner that when you like realize that the situation's bad, the relationship, and you're trying to break up, and they're like waiting for you, and they're like, oh, but they'll come back to me. Yeah. Because they know me, because I'm familiar and I've always been there. And we've survived this long. Of course they'll come back to me. Fucking bullshit, okay? Excuse me, but don't listen to it, okay? It can be as instant as that you can change. That's the truth. I know that sounds really radical and like, oh, but that's so like crazy. Nobody can change that quickly. Yes, you can. You can. You absolutely can. And this is healing. And when you feel that healing, it's going to be euphoria, like unbelievable euphoria, because you're freeing yourself. No one else is doing this but you. And then there's another part of this is like, you're going to reconnect with more what you probably think in your mind is more innocent parts of yourself or moments in your life, especially like your childhood. So you're going to come into contact with your inner child. You're going to have more memories. You're going to feel more connected to them. Because you're going to become basically almost like, if there's any savior, it's going to be your present self is going to go back in time to your past self, and your past self is going to see it as their future self coming back to save them. It's this crazy thing, and you're going to have a lot of compassion and love for that child, and the child's going to have a lot of compassion and love for you, and you're going to be in agreement of like, I'm in alignment with myself, with you. The child and your present self, the adult self, whatever, it's the same person. They're not two separate things. It's the same thing. It's you across time. So you're gonna like basically time travel. This sounds kind of crazy, but this is how it works. And then you're going to have a lot of compassion for that child. You're not going to judge your child self or your past self, even if you're an adult or whatever. And you're going to, instead of being judgmental or critical or condemning yourself, whether you did something wrong or made a mistake or got into whatever, you hold compassion for yourself, okay? Because no one else is going to do that for you. And anybody else who does hold compassion for you, it's never going to reach the level of compassion that you can have for yourself. Again, this is not the ego. This is the true, like, whatever you want to call it, like this spirit, soul, your pure consciousness, your existence, whatever you want to call it. It's your true essence, who you really are. You're having compassion and healing for yourself. You're providing that across time, and you're connecting with yourself. This is ultimate healing. It's magical. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. And this all comes from just detaching yourself and separating yourself and getting a quiet, peaceful environment from away from like all the craziness of this world. Isolating yourself, still taking care of yourself, and allowing yourself to have these moments, to have the ability to do this, because this is something that everybody needs and everybody should have. This is like a separation. This is a complete detox and healing. Again, there's going to be a lot of difficult things because you're going to have some crazy ass revelations. Okay. I'll tell you that a lot of things that you probably like repressed deep within you, they're going to start like coming eventually at some point. Again, may not be all at once eventually from this, and it can unfold in waves. You're going to start like remembering and seeing things that actually happened to you, that you actually experienced, and it's going to be very difficult. A lot of the people in your life, possibly like family members, things like that, they might have contributed significantly to a lot of this trauma, and they might not have treated you right. And if you need to put up that boundary and not speak to them again, particularly if they refuse to legitimately hear you and, you know, treat you right, treat you with the respect and compassion that you have for yourself, you have to protect yourself. You have to separate yourself. And definitely sometimes you owe it to yourself. Okay? So that's what's going to happen there. It's a lot. I know a lot of people are going through this. I'm just speaking out on it because this is a huge thing that this is going to change the world. Seriously. Because through this healing, the clarity and just the ability to just exist finally, and to breathe. And then you look at other people and you start to see things. Of course, you can't go in there and change something for somebody else. That's their choice. They have to make the choice. That's the number one thing. All of this relies on the person themselves making the choice themselves. That's what it is. It's your choice. Nobody else can make the choice for you. Nobody can condemn you or save you but yourself. That's it. And anyone coming in here trying to claim that, you know, they're a savior or they're going to like heal you or something, I would not trust that. I would see that as deceptive, and I would see that as kind of like a situation that is like a power dynamic or hierarchy situation, which I don't believe in. I don't believe in hierarchy at all. I think that's a lie. And I truly believe in healing. I believe in love. The root of this is all love, basically. It's really actually like separating the whole idea that I think this world has really taught us about love, about it being like a very specific kind of look, or it's just like about attachment or maybe even lust, or involving practicality or like aiding in survival. Like, love is just the ultimate truth. It's the ultimate intelligence. It's the ultimate freedom. It's the ultimate possibility of just possibility of existence. And I'm still like on my journey of really understanding what love is. But that's the key of it. It's the power of love. And the truth is, there's nothing holding you back. You're not stuck. You're not condemned. And then here's another thing too. Nobody can condemn you. I think we've gone a long time thinking that people can attach labels to you, they could call you things, they could categorize you, they could project whatever. And, again, the ego would kind of take that and store that as like a way to use against you, to suppress you and to keep you like, chained up and trapped within that whole cycle of lies. But basically, people may attack you, verbally, mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever. That is not a reflection of who you are. They may call you things, they may call you categories. It could be something seen as more neutral categories or whatever, but still, it does not have to be applicable to you. You don't have to own it if it doesn't apply to you. If somebody says you're a bad person or you're crazy, you don't have to own that. I mean, that's kind of simple, but I'm just giving examples. Like, you don't have to own the identities that people attach to you. It could have no effect. Once you learn who you are and that you're the one who defines yourself, and, that you choose love and you choose to love and heal, all these things that try to attach to you and that get projected at you, they're powerless. They don't mean anything. It could just be meaningless information. Or you can observe other people on their journey of where they're at, and that's where they happen to be. That's why, here's another thing. Because I don't condemn myself, I don't condemn other people. I don't do that anymore. I used to label people. I used to call people this and that, like narcissists. That was out of fear and ignorance. And I've since learned from that, because I've learned that if I'm condemning other people, and I spoke about this before, if I'm condemning other people, basically shaming other people, then I'm basically having to follow that rule about myself deep down. Even if it's not like on the surface level where I'm like thinking like, oh yeah, I'm condemning them, so I'm condemning themselves. But if I'm condemning or shaming somebody else, that basically keeps it alive within myself, and I'm somewhere basically believing that about myself. I don't do that anymore. It's basically like a weird infectious thing. That's why I say like shame is a lie, shame is wrong, and it does not belong with anyone, anywhere, at any time. Because it's completely unnecessary. It keeps up this idea of like condemnation and limitation, and I don't believe in that. I don't believe it's true. Just like how I said that I don't believe in hatred. I believe it's mainly just pain. A lot of it is basically just displaced pain that isn't being processed or healed, because the way the systems are set up, it's very, very difficult to have this information and to know how to heal. And I'm not saying this is the only way to heal, but this is what has been working for me, and I could definitely see this helping and working for other people as well. Okay, so I said a lot. I was kind of all over the place, but yeah, those are some of the things I've been learning. I hope it helps.